But like I said, then there's that religious extremist side that just says, if you're not Muslim, then you're wrong, and if you're, the Americans are here and they're infidels, and they're going to pollute everything. I mean, one of the things I got a kick out of was I would have a young man or young men come up to me, and you could kind of tell they were just giving me the party line of, the Americans come here and they oogle our women, or you take them away and they get raped, and you're like, no, we don't. I guess I can't say it's never happened, but I never saw anything like that. I know there's no policy of it. We've all been instructed that we're not even supposed to look at women. But when you're dealing in a combat situation in a major population, you're going to be looking out over a crowd, and there's going to be women in that crowd. But they would say things like, you disrespect our women, you touch the women, you arrest the women. It's like, well, sometimes women do bad things as well. And so there's lots of intricacies to deal with there. But then I had a female officer that went out with me one time on a patrol, and these young men were fascinated that there was a woman working with the Army, as a soldier, and they had no compunction about coming up and touching her. None at all. I mean, when we would stop, all eyes were to her. She was an attractive young lady on top of that, but it was like, there's a woman and she's not covered. Let's go over and look at the spectacle. And they kind of mobbed her. And then it wasn't like touching her on the shoulder. They were touching her everywhere, and to where she was really unnerved and disgusted by it. And she lashed out at them. But it was just funny to me because, Americans are, you're doing these things to our women, you're disrespecting our women. And I'm like, look, I've also seen this, and you're lucky you didn't get shot. So that was, kind of the difference in culture and kind of the hypocritical aspects of it as well that were kind of maddening, because they would throw those things out at you from time to time, and you couldn't necessarily defend against it. They couldn't give you things specific. It was just, the Americans are bad, and you treat us poorly, and what do you mean? I don't know what to tell you. We're not doing those things to you. We could really care less about the women in your culture. I mean, they're important as any citizen is, but we don't want to marry your women. We don't want to take them away and make them work in the salt mines or indoctrinate them in the American ways. Just everybody be cool, and that just didn't necessarily work out the way we wanted it to.
After remaining in the military for such a long time, how has your opinion changed about the Iraq War? And I know a lot of people have begun to think that we need to take care of problems in the United States and we should just pull out, and other people are thinking, no, we can't abandon it. So what is your take on that? How has it changed?
I don't think my opinions have changed a whole lot. I think it was I think when we went into Iraq, we needed to have goals that were more specific and goals that were attainable. And there was a lot of very smart people that were involved in kind of getting us into that war. But when I look at the goals that were kind of laid out, they weren't achievable. And so I don't see a lot of intelligence in that. So I see us today, years down the line, I think we've given the Iraqis a fair chance to have kind of seized on the opportunity to become the society that they can be, and they haven't done that. And I don't mean to fault the average Iraqi. I do mean to fault, the average Iraqi politician, the average Iraqi religious cleric, the average Iraqi, leaders at all levels. They didn't jump in. And from the American side, we didn't do a good job of getting them to feel comfortable and get on board. And we needed to understand, too, that we were never going to make Iraq into some sort of society that was going to mirror the United States or U.S. values. Or whatever it was going to be, or whatever it will eventually come to be, is going to have to be distinctly Iraq. And I think for the United States, we need to look at countries that are a threat to us, as Iraq was believed to be at that point in time when we went into the war. Is, if a country is a threat to the United States, we need to deal with it. And I think we need to be, pretty harsh and deal with the leadership, because the average Iraqi was not our problem. It was the Republican Guard. It was Saddam, and it was Uday and Qusay and that whole rabble bunch. And so you go in and you deal with them. As far as then getting on the ground and giving 8 or 9 years and thousands of lives to try and fix the system, I don't know. I think we give a good faith effort of 1 or 2 years. If we then get the partnership that we want, that's going to work for us and work for them, then we continue to be an active economic and development partner with them. And if they choose to then push away from us and go back to extremist views, then we just hammer them again when they become a threat. But I would love it if we could give people the lives that they should otherwise have. But I think I'm also just more pragmatic that we can't.